bringing home a paycheck that barely covers the bills, and quietly wondering if God simply forgot to bless you. Well, here's something that might shake you. Some of the most blessed people in all of Scripture started with less than what's in your wallet right now. A shepherd boy with a sling, a widow down to her last handful of flour, a slave sold off by his own brothers. The difference was never the size of what they held. It was what they did with the little that passed through their hands. I've spent years digging into what the Bible actually says about money, and most of what you've been taught is backwards. Stay with me, because before this is over, you're going to see the exact pattern God laid out for the person who feels stuck at the very bottom. Let me tear down a lie that's probably been sitting on your chest for years. The world tells you that real blessing looks like a six-figure salary, a bigger house, a newer car sitting in the driveway. And somewhere along the way, you started to believe that a small income means God overlooked you. That is complete garbage, and Scripture proves it on nearly every page. Remember the widow at the temple. The rich walked past and dropped in loud handfuls of gold. Then a poor widow dropped in two small coins, worth almost nothing. And Jesus said she gave more than all of them combined, not because of the amount, because of the heart and the faithfulness behind it. Your income is just raw material. What you do with it is the real test. I've watched people with overflowing bank accounts live in total bondage, and I've watched people with almost nothing walk in real freedom. Here's the truth nobody wants to sit with. When you have little, you are forced to be faithful with little. And that is exactly where God does his deepest work. Jesus said it plainly. Whoever is faithful with very little will be trusted with much. That is not a threat. That is a promise. The small paycheck you resent is actually your training ground. Look at the ant in Proverbs. Nobody rules over her. Nobody stands there forcing her hand. Yet she stores up in the summer so she isn't destroyed in the winter. She plans. She stays steady. And Scripture holds her up as wisdom for you and me. When money is tight, that same quiet faithfulness becomes your superpower long before your income ever catches up. So where does the plan actually start? Not with saving, not with investing. It starts with breaking a chain. Proverbs says it without flinching. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. Read that again. Slave. When you carry debt, you are serving a master God never meant for you to serve. Every payment you send toward that credit card is you tightening your own chains. Let me show you some math that should make you angry. Say you're carrying $3,000 on a card at 20% interest, paying only the minimum. That debt can chain you for over 30 years, and you'll hand the lender more than $10,000 in the end. $10,000 that could have gone to your family, your future, the work God put right in front of you. Gone. This is why debt gets hit first, and hit hard. Audit every single dollar. Cut what you've been calling a need that was really just a want, and aim everything you free up straight at that chain until it finally snaps. Once the chain is broken, you build the storehouse. And there's no better teacher than Joseph, a slave in a foreign land who rose to become second only to Pharaoh. God warned him that 7 years of plenty were coming, and right behind them, 7 years of famine. So, what did Joseph do in the good years? He didn't spend it all. He stored. Quietly, steadily, he set aside grain so that when the famine finally hit, an entire nation survived. Proverbs says the same thing simply: the wise store up, but the foolish devour everything they get. So, before you invest a single dollar, build a small storehouse. 3 months of your basic expenses set aside, and no more than that. Not 3 years, because there's a second warning buried here. Remember the rich man who tore down his barns to build bigger ones, hoarding it all for himself. And God called him a fool the very night his life was taken. The storehouse is for wisdom and readiness. It is never for hoarding out of fear. Now comes the part most believers get completely wrong, and it comes straight from the mouth of Jesus: the parable of the talents. A master gives his servants money before a long journey. 2 of them put it to work and double it. The third one is afraid, so he digs a hole and buries what he was given, just to keep it safe. When the master comes back, he praises the two who multiplied it, and he calls the one who buried it wicked and lazy. Sit with that for a second. Playing it safe with what God handed you is not humility. Scripture calls it wasteful. Money that just sits there doing nothing is the buried talent. Money that's planted and allowed to grow is the harvest. And here's the beautiful part: a small seed planted early grows into something you could never save on your own. Set a little aside faithfully year after year and let it multiply over decades. That is not a get rich scheme. It is the oldest principle in the book. You reap what you sow, and the one who sows generously reaps generously. But don't just guard what comes in, grow what you can offer. Proverbs asks a question worth memorizing. Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will stand before kings, not before ordinary men. Skill is honored by God. Diligent hands, Scripture says, bring wealth, while lazy hands make a man poor. So sharpen something, learn a craft, get better at the thing people already pay you for, or build a new skill on the side, and do it as unto the Lord, not just for a boss. That extra harvest isn't greed, it's stewardship. It gives you more to break your chains with, more to store, more to plant, and more to give away when God taps you on the shoulder and says, "Now." And here's the trap waiting at the end of the road. The moment more money finally shows up, most people let their lifestyle swallow it whole. A bigger place, a nicer car, more stuff to insure and worry over. Paul warned about this directly. Godliness with contentment, he said, is great gain, and the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Real freedom was never about having more things. It's about having margin. Margin to give when you see a need. Margin to say yes when God calls you somewhere new. Margin to rest without panic clawing at your chest. Honor the Lord with the first fruits of everything you bring in, Proverbs says, and watch how he handles the rest. So hear this before you go. Your paycheck was never the thing standing between you and a blessed life. It never was. The words you're really working toward aren't well paid. They're well done, good and faithful servant. And those words are spoken over the faithful, not over the wealthy. Break the chain, build the storehouse, plant the seed, and make today's dollar a faithful one. If this stirred something in you, Subscribe and stay close, because the next one goes even deeper into the money wisdom God hid inside Scripture.